Dan Harris, a high-profile news anchor, never imagined that a panic attack on live television would be the turning point in his life. But it was. That single moment exposed the underlying stress, anxiety, and internal chaos he had been battling silently. In 10% Happier, Dan shares his deeply personal journey of confronting the ego, exploring spirituality, and ultimately discovering the life-altering power of mindfulness and meditation. The title itself is modest because Dan doesn't promise enlightenment, just being 10% happier, which is realistic and relatable. Chapter 1, Air Hunger. The book opens with Dan's panic attack during a Good Morning America broadcast. Despite a successful career, he was inwardly crumbling, haunted by war reporting trauma, drug use, and anxiety. He admits turning to recreational drugs like cocaine after his stint in war zones. The wake-up call wasn't just physical, it was existential. This moment forced him to reflect. What am I doing with my life? Lesson. Even success can't shield us from internal suffering. The first step to change is acknowledging that we are not okay. Chapter 2, The Voice in My Head. Dan introduces readers to the voice in his head, the constant narrator that criticizes, doubts, and worries. He realizes this inner voice is not unique. It's universal. Most of us live driven by it, unaware of how much it sabotages our peace. Lesson. You are not the voice in your head. Becoming aware of it is the beginning of freedom. Chapter 3, Unwitting Mystic. Curiosity takes Dan to explore self-help books and spiritual teachings, starting with Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. He is skeptical but intrigued. Tolle speaks about stillness and presence, but Dan finds the language vague. Still, the idea of living in the now makes a deep impression. Lesson. Presence isn't mystical, it's practical. Living in the moment can prevent your mind from dragging you into anxiety or regret. Chapter 4, The Jubu. Dan meets Mark Epstein, a Buddhist psychiatrist who bridges psychology and Eastern spirituality. Epstein demystifies Buddhist concepts and helps Dan understand the workings of the mind and ego without religious dogma. Lesson. You can explore meditation and mindfulness without abandoning your cultural or religious identity. It's about practice, not belief. Chapter 5, The New Caffeine. Dan discovers that meditation is not about escaping life. It's about confronting it. He dives into the basics of mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, noticing distractions, and coming back to the present. Surprisingly, this simple practice begins reducing his anxiety. Lesson. Meditation doesn't make your problems vanish. It changes your relationship to them. Chapter 6, The Power of Self-Help and Its Pitfalls. Dan experiments with various self-help trends from affirmations to gratitude journaling, but also confronts the toxic positivity and inflated promises in the self-help industry. He wants results, not illusions. Lesson. Self-help isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming more honest, aware, and compassionate. Chapter 7, Retreat. He attends a 10-day silent meditation retreat, which becomes one of the most challenging and transformative experiences of his life. He struggles with boredom, frustration, and discomfort, but eventually gains insight into his patterns and impulses. Lesson. True growth happens when you sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Chapter 8, 10% Happier. Returning from the retreat, Dan is more grounded, but not completely changed. He describes his growth as 10% happier, subtle but significant. He argues that this small shift has a compounding effect on relationships, work, and stress levels. Lesson. Small changes in mindset can lead to major improvements in quality of life. Chapter 9, The Benefits of Non-Reactivity. Mindfulness has helped Dan create space between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting emotionally, he learns to pause, observe, and respond more wisely. This helps at work, especially in the fast-paced, high-pressure world of news. Lesson. The space between impulse and action is where your power lies. Chapter 10, Compassion, Without Being a Softie. Initially skeptical of loving-kindness meditation, Dan later realizes that compassion isn't weakness, it's a powerful tool for emotional resilience. He starts to treat others and himself with more understanding, without losing his edge. Lesson. Compassion and ambition aren't enemies. Being kind can make you sharper, not softer. Chapter 11, The Ego Trap. Dan becomes aware of how ego-driven thoughts, lead to unnecessary conflict and stress, whether it's competing with colleagues or chasing status. He sees how ego fuels dissatisfaction. Letting go of ego doesn't mean giving up. It means not being owned by your cravings and fears. Lesson: you don't have to destroy your ego, but you can stop letting it drive the bus. Chapter 12, The Way of the Warrior. Dan reflects on his earlier anxiety-driven lifestyle. While his tendencies toward preparation and skepticism made him a great journalist, he realizes they also exhausted him emotionally. Through mindfulness, he learns how to worry less and live more. Lesson: worrying is like paying interest on a debt you may never owe. Awareness reduces unnecessary mental noise. Chapter 13, Don't Be a Jerk, and Other Practical Wisdom. He explores how meditation affects his everyday behavior, helping him argue less, listen more, and build healthier relationships. Even his wife and coworkers notice the difference. He emphasizes that meditation doesn't make you perfect, but it makes you a bit less of a jerk. Lesson: mindfulness sharpens your emotional intelligence and makes you more tolerable to be around. Chapter 14, The Science Behind It All. Skeptical at first, Dan dives into the neuroscience behind meditation. He learns that mindfulness literally changes the brain, enhancing areas related to focus, compassion, and emotional regulation. Lesson: meditation isn't just ancient wisdom, it's backed by modern science. Chapter 15, The Skeptical Meditator's Toolkit. Dan provides practical advice for those new to meditation. Start small, be consistent, and drop the expectations. He breaks down the myths, like needing to clear your mind, and encourages people to aim for progress, not perfection. Lesson: you don't need to meditate for hours. Even a few minutes of mindfulness a day can change your life. Chapter 16, The Final Takeaway. It's not woo-woo anymore. Dan wraps up the book by highlighting that meditation is no longer reserved for monks or hippies. It's a secular, science-supported tool for modern minds. His journey from a skeptical journalist to a mindful practitioner shows that real transformation begins with small steps and a willingness to be honest about our inner chaos. Final lesson: you don't have to believe in crystals or incense. You just need to be willing to sit down, breathe, and notice what's happening. Conclusion: 10% happier isn't a promise of nirvana, it's a roadmap to becoming slightly better at handling life. Dan Harris teaches us that meditation is for skeptics, cynics, and realists. The goal isn't to silence the mind, it's to stop letting it control you. With humor, humility, and honesty, Dan gives us permission to grow, just 10% at a time.